So we need to understand few things. Before Britishers came to India, till the time of, let's try to understand the background of the reason for picking of the salt. So before Britishers came to India, till the time of somewhere 1800 something, the year is not important. Indian people, basically they were producing their own salt. And how they were doing that? Basically, they were evaporating the sea water by boiling them, and then they were picking up. Okay. But when the Britishers came to India, Britishers made a ban on this thing. So now the Indian people, neither they can make salt for their own consumption, and talking about selling point of view, that was also banned. This was something which was not liked by Indian people, because salt is such a basic thing, and the government and the state, whatever, they should not have the restrictions on such thing. So this was the one thing. Now, why they picked salt satyagraha? So basically, in order to understand this thing, we need to remember one thing. We understood one thing, that Indian people, they wanted complete independence or Purna Swaraj, and they had given the ultimatum of 1 year. If within 1930, the government is not going to accept their demand, they are going to launch a mass movement, right? So that mass movement is known as civil disobedience movement, or commonly salt satyagraha. So one thing is clear, that we are able to understand a mass movement which is known as civil disobedience. But why salt? So because according to Gandhiji and according to many important leaders within the Congress, they wanted to launch a movement in a mass level. But to attract the masses, they need to choose something which is very common to all people, which is not confined within the boundary of the rich people, or it is not something which is only important for upper caste people, or this is something which is not just related with the any gender specific thing. So salt is something which is common to all, and this is something which is used by all people. So because of that, Gandhiji picked this thing, and in order to remove the tax on making and selling of salt, basically he picked salt so that all the masses can united. So this was the reason. And Gandhi ji के साथ हमेशा से ऐसा था कि whenever he was launching any movement, he always tried to touch the masses. And वो mass को कैसे touch करेंगे? To pick up the common grievances amongst all Indian. Unlike the previous moderate leaders in the Congress, who were only talking about the big thing, which was most of the time not having any area of interest of the common people. So that was the reason for choosing of salt. Now, let's try to understand the story of Dandi March. Okay, why Dandi is important in this reference. So it started in the basically March 1930, okay, and ended in somewhere around April 1930, that Dandi March. So लोग कहते हैं कि it is all about 21 days का जो journey था इनका. तो यहाँ पे क्या था? Here Gandhi, along with his some 70 to 75 people from the Sabarmati ashram, from the Sabarmati. This is also important. So we all know that they had an ashram in Sabarmati. So they all started their journey from here, somewhere around 70 to 78 people. And they traveled somewhere around 240 miles, and then they reached to the coast at Dandi. So Dandi is a coastal region, and here they violated the salt by collecting directly from the sea, and there they also started making salt. And that's how this civil disobedience movement started. What is the meaning of disobedience? That they're not going to obey the law of the government. What was the law? You cannot produce your own salt. So that's how they started this movement. And from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi, it was a journey of somewhere 21 days. And here they collected the salt, disobeyed the government law, and from here onward, the movement started. By the time they reached Dandi, when they started, they were somewhere around 70 to 75 people. By the time they reached Dandi, they attracted a lot of crowd. Okay? So this is one thing. Now, another point, which can ask in your examination. Okay? क्या ये जो salt movement start हुआ था, it was only restricted to certain class? No. It attracted pan-India level. Basically, this was the first movement where we had seen the huge interest and huge involvement of the women. Earlier, and the question of joining such movement from the angle of women, this question was also came in front of Gandhiji. Initially, Gandhiji was skeptical about involving women in his movement. But when Sarojini Naidu, she was the governor of UP when we will when we will get independence. Plus, she was the first Indian woman who was the president of Indian National Congress as well. So she insisted Gandhiji to allow women also in his mass movement. So because of that, even women also participated in this movement in a huge level. And here, here only we, from this point onward, we can see that a lot of notable women, they also came into the picture. There is a one famous story of a woman from the Karnataka region, and her name was Anna Devi something karke. So she was the person who gathered a lot of women support. She went to prison also. There also she did constructive work like teaching spinning to the other people, making aware of the people of independence, many more things. So from 1930 onward, you are going to see a huge participation from the women as well. Earlier, it was missing. And this gave a great sense of responsibility to women. It gave them a kind of identity. Earlier, women were subjected to reside in the houses. So they were not having, and talking about giving equal treatment, these things was not there in the picture. But from here onward, we had seen that huge participation of the women in the national movement. And before that, we had seen that First World War also happened. So there also, we had seen that a lot of women started working, some from their home and some from the factory onward. But you can see that from 1915 to 1930, and in future when we will learn about the Quit India movement, then we will see that there was almost equal participation by the women also. Not just women, from here onward, we had seen that the participation of women, the participation of women, the participation of Dalit, the participation of, you can say that, tribal people, That is the reason we call such movement as a mass movement. We cannot call all the movement as a mass movement. There are only few movement which can be known as a mass movement. For example, non-corporation movement, Dandi March, and then we have Quit India movement. These are the movement which can be categorized under the mass movement. Otherwise, other movements, whether it is a tribal revolt or a peasant revolt or any kind of a revolt, we cannot say that they are the mass movement. And the person who was responsible for conducting such movement, a person who was the soul of this movement, was Gandhiji. That is the reason we call him the mass leader. So this is all about this movement. Civil disobedience movement, commonly salt satyagraha. But we also need to understand, other than picking salt directly from the coastal region, what are the other provision under this movement? It was not just a salt movement. It was a complete civil disobedience movement. So we also need to understand what were the other areas. ठीक है? तो other areas में आपके और कौन-कौन से थे? और अदर डिमांड्स जो थी वो सब क्या थी? First was, wherever possible, people should actually wherever it is possible, people should start picking up salt so that they can give a message to the government that they are not obeying their laws. First was this thing, like disobedience of salt law in pan India level. ठीक है? It was not just restricted to the Gujarat. Second, foreign liquor and clothes shop that should be burned. Then refuse of taxes. This was the another point. Lawyers को अपनी practice छोड़नी है. Government servant can resign. From their post. Local leaders should be obeyed after Gandhiji's arrest. Matlab, when they launched this movement, it was very common and it was very evident that there will be a certain kind of imprisonment to the Gandhiji. So when in his absence, what public should do? So they should obey the law of the local leaders irrespective of their areas. So that was the thing. These were the demand, mota. Now try to understand how this salt law spreaded throughout our country. So in India, how many coastal states are there? Can anyone tell me? How many coastal states do we have? Which state?
9 we have.
कौन से हैं?
Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Kerala, Odisha, and Goa.
What about West Bengal?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think I named only 7.
Okay. And which states has the longest coastal line?
गुजरात.
Yeah.
Gujarat.
Correct. ठीक है. तो ऑब्वियस सी बात है कि जो सॉल्ट की बात हो रही है, it will be present in all these coastal region, right? So right now we are discussing about, like, other than Gandhi, who were the people who was local leader of their own region. So talking about Tamil Nadu, if we have to talk about the Tamil Nadu region, so here, one second. Okay, so in Tamil Nadu region, we have the famous personality whose name was Sri Raj Gopalchari. So he was the person who was responsible for organizing the salt satyagraha in the Tamil Nadu region. Initially, he also wanted that the movement should go as a non-violence form, but when government started repressing these uh, people, then it turned into the violence form. So Tamil Nadu not was the only reason. In Malabar also, the famous leader K. Kelappan, he was responsible in the Malabar region. Then in Andhra region, here also salt marches were organized, especially in the river जो आपकी गोदावरी कृष्णा एंड गुंटूर है, ठीक है. So talking about Odisha, here also happened. Assam में हुआ, Bengal में हुआ. Now there is a one place which is something, if it will come into your option, you might eliminate it because it is a landlocked place. The name of that place is Bihar. Here also salt satyagraha was organized, but we all know that Bihar is a landlocked state. So how it is then how it will be possible? So basically for that, there is a pond in Bihar. Nakhas pond, okay. Here, this was chosen as a site to make salt and break the salt law under Ambika Kant Sinha. So this was one information. I don't know whether it can come into your examination or not, but sometime if they want to twist the questions, then they made this kind of a statement. So suppose अगर आपको मोटा मोटा इस टाइप का क्वेश्चन एग्जाम में पूछा जाता है कि क्या सिर्फ सॉल्ट लॉ कोस्टल एरियाज में ही स्प्रेड हुआ था, so we have to say no, it is not like that. Even in the landlocked state also, they organized salt law. Why and how they did that? They used to choose the common site for that. Guys?
Yes, ma'am. Now you are audible.
Oh, okay. Fine. So this was the popularity of the salt movement. It became popular throughout India, whether it is Maharashtra, whether it is Gujarat, UP, northeastern state. It was a popular movement. So don't get just confused with this movement that it was only restricted to the Gujarat, or it was only restricted to the Dandi area, or it was only restricted to the coastal region. No, it had a popularity in the pan India level. Now, talking about the mass participation, like what kind of a people who participated in this movement. So women in a huge level, but you need to remember one thing. Initially Gandhiji was not accepting women participation, but because Sarojini Naidu, she convinced Gandhiji that the women should also allowed in such kind of a movement, then Gandhiji had given the green signal. Otherwise he was not sure about entering allowing women in this movement. Then students, huge participation of the students, even Muslims, they also supported this movement. So and not only in Muslim only male participated, but women Muslims, they also participated in a huge level. So that was a one thing. Plus merchants, obviously it was the area of their interest, they also participated, tribal and worker. So you can see that almost all the section of our society, they participated in this movement. So it was a popular movement. Now we need to understand. So this was the demand, this was the excitement and work done by the Indian people. How the government was responding. See, what was happening from 1885 to 1947. So generally what was happening, people within India, they had their demands, and that should be listened by the government. When government was accepting their demand, they were celebrating. When the government was not accepting their demand, they were launching the movement. This was the story. So again, people, Indian people, they launched a movement and the government had to respond. Now the government, the British government was criticized by not only Indian media, but throughout the world. Somewhere there was a pressure also to the Britishers that now they were actually criticized by many people. Plus, since it was a mass movement, then it cannot easily suppressed as well. So finally, in this to pacify this movement, finally Lord Irwin, who was Lord Irwin that time, governor, Viceroy, sorry. So finally, Lord Irwin in July 1930, he suggested a round table conference. राउंड टेबल कॉन्फ्रेंस बोला कि चलो आप राउंड टेबल कॉन्फ्रेंस करते हैं. And then we will discuss about your point, like whether you want a dominion status or you have to stop such kind of a movement and all these things. So finally, and this was the time when Gandhiji was already arrested. Okay. Then since Gandhiji was in jail, so finally important leaders, they all went to the Pune, where he was in prison. So there they discuss like how they can settle their issues and how they can ask for their demand in future. So there they had a good discussion. So finally, on January 1931, we are going to see the famous Gandhi Irwin Pact. So till now हमने क्या कहाँ से देखा, 19 साइमन कमीशन की रिपोर्ट, ignorance of the dominion status. In that response, finally Lahore session happened. There they talked about now they do not need dominion stated, but they want complete independence. They had given a time frame for 1 year. If that demand will not be fulfilled, then they are going to launch a mass movement. And finally in 1930, in March, they started this movement. They reached to the Dandi in April, somewhere around 21 days. And from here onward, the movement got started. It spreaded throughout the India. And finally, in July, within 2 to 3 months, finally the government had to come in the table of negotiation, and they offered round table conference. So are you able to understand that? Now try to understand what was the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. ठीक है? So this pact was happened in Delhi. That's why we call it Delhi Pact also. ठीक है? अब देखो यहाँ पे कौन है. So here we can see two people. So Gandhi ji from on the behalf of Congress and Irwin on the behalf of British Indian government. ठीक है? Now, what like on in which area Gandhi accepted Irwin demand, and in which area Irwin accepted Gandhi's demand, that we need to understand. So Irwin on the behalf of government, he agreed on what? Number one, immediate release of all political prisoners not convicted of violence. So release of all political prisoner. This was one thing. But not convicted of violence. So this was the time when already Bhagat Singh was in the jail. And people wanted that Gandhi ji at least get freedom or independence or commute sentence for these people. Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, and one of his friend. But what Irwin proposed, we can release all the political prisoner, but we cannot release somebody who is already convicted. So this was one thing. Okay? And remember this point because it is going to be again important. Okay? Second, remission of all fines not yet collected. जितने भी इन्होंने fines लगाए हैं, which is not collected till now, it is going to be returned. What does that mean? So generally what happened, even when you will join police force, so what happened? Suppose आपका कोई सामान like चोरी हुआ, 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh, 4 lakh या 10,000 का भी. But initially जो जिसने ये काम किया वो अरेस्ट नहीं हो पाया. अगर वो 10 साल बाद भी अरेस्ट होता है, suppose आपका गोल्ड चोरी हुआ है, so what happened generally, what police does if they are honest, then what they will do, they will try to get the money back. Suppose उस बंदे ने आपके पैसे चोरी करके उसने गोल्ड खरीद लिया या उसने बाइक खरीद ली या कुछ और ले लिया, so what they will do, उसको बेच करके जो उससे पैसे मिलेंगे वो आपको रिटर्न कर देंगे. लेकिन अगर उस बंदे ने वो पैसे ऑलरेडी यूज कर लिए हैं, मे बी एजुकेशन में, मे बी खर्च कर दिया है खाने पीने में, सो दैट कैन नॉट बी कलेक्टेड बैक. So this is the provision जो जनरली पुलिस फॉलो करती है. सिमिलरली गवर्नमेंट में जो इरविन थे उन्होंने भी ये बोला कि जो फाइन्स हमने लगाए हैं वी विल हम उसको रिमिशन कर देंगे, बट जो ऑलरेडी कलेक्ट हो चुके हैं दैट वी कैन नॉट ऑफर बैक. रिटर्न ऑफ ऑल लैंड्स नॉट येट सोल्ड टू द थर्ड पार्टीज. व्हाटएवर लैंड द गवर्नमेंट हैड टेकन, जो लैंड्स जो ली थी from the people, that can also be returned, but condition क्या है? The condition is not sold to the third party. अगर third party को किसी को दिया है तब नहीं. Plus now you can make the most important thing, you can make salt, but only for consumption. Means you cannot manufacture salt for business purpose or for selling purpose. ठीक है, not for sale. You can have your own peaceful speeches, you can assemble peacefully, but any kind of violence will not be permitted. So so this was the areas which which Irwin accepted. Now we need to understand what was the point which was not accepted by the Irwin. Not accepted. कौन सी वो डिमांड थी जो उसने एक्सेप्ट नहीं की थी ऑन द बिहाफ ऑफ गांधी? नंबर 1, पब्लिक इंक्वायरी इनटू पुलिस एक्सेस. जो आपका गांधी जी ने एक्चुअली डिमांड किया था कि इस मूवमेंट में जितनी आपने पुलिस ने ब्रुटैलिटी दिखाई है उसकी इंक्वायरी होनी चाहिए. दैट वाज नॉट एक्सेप्टेड बाय इरविन. सेकंड, कम्यूटेशन ऑफ भगत सिंह एंड हिज फ्रेंड्स, डेथ सेंटेंस टू द लाइफ इम्प्रिजमेंट. जो ये बात थी भगत सिंह वाली, दैट वाज आल्सो नॉट एक्सेप्टेड बाय द Irwin. So this was the thing. And when Gandhi returned from Delhi after this meeting, a lot of people had hope that Gandhi might convince Irwin, and then we can save Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, and Sukhdev. But that did not happen, and that is the reason Gandhi ji received a huge protest from the Indian people. And from here onward, you will see that somewhere, like the people, they started having certain kind of a doubt, apprehension towards Gandhi ji. Till 1925 and 1928, from 1915 onward, Gandhi ji was undoubtedly a famous and the mass leader. But as the movement passes, we have seen that now a lot of people who used to follow him blindly, they all will have doubts on his working. And even in your UPSC examination, you will see such kind of a question in your previous year paper that from 1940 onward, जो गांधी जी का वर्किंग स्टाइल था उसमें चेंजेस थे, एंड आपको वो कमेंट करना है. सो दैट इज समथिंग व्हिच वी कैन डिस्कस इन सम अदर डे, बट ये सारी चीजें होना स्टार्ट हो जाएंगी नाउ. अच्छा, गांधी जी ने क्या एक्सेप्ट किया था, अब ये भी देख लो. टू सस्पेंड सिविल डिसोबीडियंस मूवमेंट, नंबर 1. नंबर 2, कि वो पार्टिसिपेट करेंगे राउंड टेबल्स में. ठीक है. एंड डिस्कस करेंगे अबाउट लाइक कि हाउ व्हाट शुड बी द framework of the Indian Constitution, whether the federation should be there or not, whether reservation for the minority, such things should be added in the clause or not. So these were the things which Gandhi ji convinced on the behalf of the Congress that number 1, he will suspend this movement, and number 2, he will participate in the round table conference. So this was the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Now, talking about the evaluation and the comparison with the non-cooperation movement, I would suggest you yourself read both the movement, civil disobedience and non-cooperation movement, and please don't Google it on internet, like what is the comparison and what is the evaluation of this movement. Initially try to find out your own answer, ki how they were similar, how they were different, and what was the impact of this meeting जो आपका गांधी इरविन पैक्ट था. ये आप खुद से फाइंड आउट करो. मुझको if you can write it in some paper and send it to me, or you can then Google it, like what is the comparison between these two movements, so that आपको वो चीजें ज्यादा अच्छे से समझ आए. आप ये सारी चीजें आप कर लो, ठीक है. So this is one thing. Okay. So any doubt till Gandhi-Irwin Pact? Anybody? Any doubt, anyone? Okay. After second round table, then we will see that a special and famous Karachi Congress session. 1931. Okay. So this session is important for two reasons. Number one, it has importance, especially in the area of constitution, because in this session, fundamental rights, the resolution for the fundamental rights was formed. Second, in this session, under constitutions के लिए आपका जो national economic program था, that was also taken care. Whereas this session is also important because after the Gandhi-Irvin Pact, which happened in the July, when Gandhiji was coming from there to Karachi in order to attend this session, this was the time when Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev and Rajguru, they were already executed. So throughout his journey, Gandhiji received a black flag, especially from the region of Punjab, because people had this faith that Gandhiji can stop the deaths of all these people. But since he failed in this, because of that, a lot of people had apprehensions. So talking about आपका जो fundamental rights है, national economic program है, because of these two achievements, this session became very important. So fundamental rights में किन किन चीजों की बात की गई थी, अब आप उसको कंपेयर कर सकते हो आज के से, like free speech and free press. So I will be telling you the points and you need to tell me now these lines are part of which article. Okay, so it will be a kind of a fun, and I will also get to know that whether you people can remember your polity and fundamental rights or not. Okay, so are you ready for this kind of a short quiz? I will be telling you all those provision which made back in 1931 under fundamental rights. Now you have to tell me this kind of an article is listed under which category. Okay. So you don't want to participate in this quiz? If this is the thing, then I can leave also. दो महीने बाद एग्जाम में पढ़ नहीं रहे हो क्या आप लोग? Okay, freedom of speech comes under which article? No idea. चलो भाई, तो आप लोग एक बार ये आज जाके फंडामेंटल राइट रिवीजन कर लेना. उस टाइम पे जो उन्होंने दिया था क्या था? I cannot write all those rights. I will be just telling you, like free speech and free press. Now also we have this right. Right to form association. This is also there. Right to assemble. Universal adult franchise. Equal legal rights irrespective of caste, creed, gender. Neutrality of state in the religious matter. So now we can see that this is not completely true. Now the state, whenever it is needed, they are playing a very important role especially in the reason of religion, we can't say that they are neutral, but yes, we can say that they interfere in the matter of religion whenever it is needed. For example, sometime by imposing restriction and sometime by giving certain freedom. For example, wearing a turban, wearing a helmet is something which is mandatory if you're riding your bike. But people who are Punjabis, if they are not wearing helmet and if they are wearing turban, so उनके ऊपर वो charges नहीं लगते हैं, right? So इस तरीके से sometime states कुछ freedom देती है, especially in the matter of religion, and sometime कई बार वो freedom आपसे लेती भी है, so that they can make a peaceful environment. So we can't say they are completely neutral. It's a wrong word. We can't say they are neutral. Okay. That time this was a provision. Free and compulsory primary education. So this is something which was introduced in a very late phase in our fundamental rights. Okay. Then protection to culture, language, script of minorities and linguistic group. This is also our fundamental right. I don't know what happened in 1989 when the huge exodus happened in Kashmir region. If this is our fundamental right, then the state should do something, because fundamental rights आपके justiciable होते हैं. It's not like DPSP. The government should respond in this area. The government should protect the minorities. Okay. Anyway, so this was a fundamental right. Now talking about the resolution of economic program. इसमें क्या था कि this is something like even if you do not remember, it will be okay, because here generally their main agenda was revolving around giving certain flexibility and freedom to the worker, because the government was oppressive in their nature. So like setting up a proper timeline for the worker, rights of the worker and peasants, giving them right to make their unions, and like a good working condition for the women and the male, limited working hours. So all these things, something which was related or which was a part of National Economic Program. So that is the reason Karachi session is also important. Okay? So this is one thing. From here onward, we are going to end up with all these drama, and then we will start the new topic, which is round table conference, and this is important also. So till now हमने क्या-क्या देखा? हमने आज क्या-क्या देखा? सॉल्ट सत्याग्रह, ठीक है? देन हमने क्या देखा आपका? गांधी इरविन पैक्ट. देन हमने क्या देखा? कराची session, and then it will lead to the round table conference. This round table conference was outcome of the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. This Gandhi-Irwin Pact was the outcome of the Salt Satyagraha. This Salt Satyagraha was the outcome of the Lahore session, and this Lahore session was the outcome of the Nehru report. And this Nehru report was the outcome of the Simon Commission. And this Simon Commission was the outcome of the Government India Act of 1919. So can you see there is a link of each and every topic? Okay. So this is one thing. Now, we all know that there were 3 roundtable conferences that happened. And Congress was playing a very important role in the roundtable conference, right? So we are going to discuss roundtable conference in like today only. Let's see. So जो आपका फर्स्ट राउंड टेबल कॉन्फ्रेंस है, देखो ये कहाँ पे होगा आपका? Somewhere in November 1930 to Jan 1931. Where? At the rate London. And कौन होगा? It was actually happened in front of the King George V and chaired by Ramsay MacDonald. So who was the Ramsay MacDonald? He was the Prime Minister of Britain on that particular time. And Ramsay MacDonald, he was from the liberal uh, Labour Party. Labour Party was a bit liberal towards Indian people. And तो उस टाइम पे आपकी लेबर पार्टी थी, ठीक है. सो दिस वाज वन थिंग. ओके. One thing which is very important